Hi, welcome to the energetic playground of possibilities. Today, I just wish to speak to you a little bit about energies. It's not an actual exercise that I'm going to take you through. It's more about just giving you some tips and tools and something to be aware of this week. So we're all familiar when somebody tries to push us to do something. And those that are sensitive, even when that person's speaking nicely or may even be saying something that makes sense, they're trying to help you or they're just trying to show you a different possibility, but yet you feel this push. Now, also flipping that, have you had that experience where you really wanted something to happen or someone to do something and you felt that you were doing that? You were actually pushing energy. Now, the thing is... There's the universal energy that's creative, and that doesn't feel like a push. However, it can really inspire you and generate and create and fill you with enthusiasm and give you a blast of energy to create something that you never thought you could create or 2 seconds ago you didn't have the energy for. So I'm not talking about the push as in when you feel that stuckness, that heaviness, that ickiness, whether you're the one that's doing it or you're receiving it. I would like you this week to pay attention to both of those. And I'm sure if you actually think back, you would have had the experience of having that push done to you, or you felt the push, as in you were pushing at someone else. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's in relationship or in your business. If you've got a deadline that you need to get to, right? Do you want to force yourself to do it? Do you want to make that push energy not a generative one? Or are you willing to actually look at receiving the creative energy, the energy that will get whatever it is that you need to get done in probably half the time and with ease and fun? Yet what we tend to do is we think that in order for something to get created and generated, we need to force it into being. We need to make sure they see our point of view, that they understand what we're meaning, or that we're right, or that you can feel it when someone else is trying to be right or putting their projections or expectations on you. So I like to give that example of, if you went out for a date with somebody and they were filled with, this is, he or she's the one, and we're going to be good together, and I just need to get him or her to see it. Right? And you might not, as I said, you might not have it as, I'm giggling, but the extreme of that is domestic violence. The extreme of that is narcissistic. The extreme of that is a perpetrator forcing their will onto you and getting you to submit. However, there are people out there that either do it without realizing, or they're doing it from a place of superiority and rightness. In other words, they're fighting for the rightness of their point of view. And they're only looking at it through that lens rather than, are you open to receiving that? Is it actually going to generate and create? Or are you just being a stubborn head and just wanting to force something into being? So this week, that's what I would love you to pay attention to. And if you can, get it as subtle as you can. So what I mean by that is, just imagine you're speaking to a friend. Pay attention as you're speaking. Is there lightness between the two of you? Is there a spaciousness? And talking. And all of a sudden now I'm feeling this pressure from them. It's like something's changed. It just feels like there's a push energy. Or it could be the other way around. We're talking. And then all of a sudden I'm realizing, I'm trying to steer them into a direction here. Or, I'm really wanting to go out to that place and I don't want to go where they want to go. So let me, suggest really nicely that, what about this? But really the energy is saying, I'm pushing you to that. And it's very, how can I say it? We like to go into judgment of ourselves. Okay. So what I would love you to do is, if you notice that you're doing that, firstly, congratulations. The fact that you're noticing it and being willing to notice, wow, I'm actually trying to push an agenda here. Oh, I'm being superior here. Oh, I'm fighting for the rightness of my point of view here, right? Congratulations. And don't do it from judgment. Just go, wow, I'm noticing this. Okay. And I can tell you now, perpetrators, they don't think that way. Narcissists don't think that way. If you're a person that's willing to say, wow, yeah, I was pushing the river then, either pushing myself or pushing my kids or, trying to get a contract across or trying to push a sale. Yeah, actually, I did that. Now, what you've got to get is one of them is abusive. That energy is abusive. You trying to push an energy that the other person hasn't chosen, isn't willing to choose, didn't ask for, it's abuse. And as I said, the extremes is violence. However, energy is energy. And if you're pushing energy at somebody because you're driving, even if you think it's the best thing for them, I see this happen with parents or siblings where they've worked out what's wrong with you and they're the superior one and they're the right one and they know everything about you, so they're going to help you this way. It's actually abuse. And even if you're right, even if you're correct, I should say, that if they just chose that or if they just did that, it would make it easier for them. If they're not ready to receive that, you gifting that information to them is actually going to be received as abuse. And they have two choices, always. Be willing to receive that information and go, oh, actually, it's not abusive. It's just that I wasn't ready to receive it right now. And that's very rare. People, when they can't receive something, they will most likely, 99.99999%, will come at you with daggers, will come at you with separation, will come at you as you've done something wrong. And you actually, if you want to go into the right and wrong, you choosing to gift somebody a possibility when they're not ready to receive it is abusive. It's not generative and creative. And sometimes it's just an innocent thing where we just haven't thought about it. We just want to see a greater world and we just want to help. So we don't ask the question. And then we're shocked, like, oh my God, why are they angry at me? Why have they separated from me? I was just trying to help them, right? However, if you're willing to look at it and ask the question, oh, me wanting to give that information or suggestion, were they ready to receive it? And if they've responded by separation or anger or making you wrong, I can guarantee they weren't ready to receive it, or it was actually not true for them to receive it and that you actually are being abusive. So it takes courage to look at that. It takes courage to go, wow, probably not my best choice. And if you are able to apologize. Wow, I just realized me saying, for you to do that or try that, I just realized that was super unkind. You didn't even ask for my help. I'm sorry. And who am I to know? It's really your awareness, isn't it? If you wanted to repair any damage you've caused. And you could ask them, how can I make up for that? I'm so sorry. I thought I knew better, but really I don't know what's going on for you. Right? So this week, that's what I really would love you to do. Pay attention when you're talking. Is there a push energy? Or are you kind of being like, meh about it? Not really contributing or being present with what's truly going on. Look at it from both sides. If someone's speaking to you and you're chatting and all of a sudden there's just this kind of wonk, weirdness, just ask, is there a push energy here? Now, I always say when you recognize it, it's not for you to tell that person. It's just acknowledge, wow, they're trying to push me into doing something. Oh, wow, I've just realized that push energy, they've got a secret agenda, or they're trying to coax me into doing what they want or go where they want. And then it's for you to ask the question, what do I choose? Because it might actually be, even though they're pushing you to go to that restaurant, it actually might be true for you that you'd like to go to that restaurant. So then you can just make the choice to go to that restaurant. However, if that person's pushy a lot of the time, you actually need to look at that and just go, what is it about this person that I really choose to be with? Whether it's a relationship or a friendship. And now let's just spend a time on the other energy, that generative energy. When you got inspired, where, you didn't want to do the housework and all of a sudden you've done, 3 hours and it felt like 5 minutes. It just whoosh, just like, wow, got that done. There was like an energy there that allowed you to just travel through it with such ease. That energy is available all the time. And where I want to get to with the energetic playground is for you to know this is a playground, like a supermarket or a pantry where you can choose anything. So using that example of like, oh my gosh, I've got to get the laundry done or the cleaning done or that, work contract or whatever it is. and you don't want to, or if you're a student, I've got to get that assignment in. I don't have the energy for it. So acknowledge that. Right now, I don't want to do any of that. You need to acknowledge it before anything can change, right? And then ask. Because the fact that you can't do that homework or do whatever it is, it's because you haven't got the energy. And what we tend to do is use an abusive energy of push. I must, I have to, I have no choice, I've got to do it, I'm going to force myself. And you're going to that house cleaning or, essay writing with that energy. Is that actually going to generate and create for you? Is that going to be fun for you? Yeah, it might get the job done, but is that actually a kindness to you? And also, from the trauma brain perspective, wouldn't you be open to more possibilities if you weren't stressed, if you didn't feel that push and that uncomfortableness? We've been brought up and indoctrinated that we need to have this pressure in order to choose something. And I'm just saying it's not necessarily the case. I'm trying to show you a different reality where you can actually just choose a different energy. So imagine you're sitting there, you've realized I have to get this assignment done because of the time frame. I don't want to do it and I don't have the energy. And what do I need? I require the energy. So ask the question. Now you can go into the field and just pull all the energy that's required. You can take actions like the superhero stance, or you might ask your body and say, hey, what's actually going to generate and create for me to have the energy to do this housework or complete this task? And it might be go for a walk, have a bath, have a 15-minute meditation, call a friend, listen to a YouTube clip, do some exercise. You'll know. But ask the question, what energies are required for me to have absolute ease in completing this? To give you an extreme case, I was speaking to a client who was going through domestic violence and had to write affidavits. And I wish I had this information when I was going through all of this. Anyway, he was having a really hard time, and just the things that he was writing were obviously upsetting. And I said to him, well, why don't you organise an affidavit party? And he said, what? And I said, well, would it be fun for you to have some friends around? And he said, but I'm writing stuff that's really upsetting. And I said, yeah, I know. I said, would it actually help if you turned it into a party? And he was really shocked because the energy of what he was going through with the abuse wasn't something you'd want to have a party about. And it was in such contrast, you could even think that that's an insult to the seriousness of what he was writing. And this is where it can be a total reframe. And I gave him the example. I said, when you give birth, I know he's a bloke, but I said, when you give birth, you know that chances are it's going to be a little bit painful or there's going to be an intensity there. So we look at things, don't we? We look at getting a support partner. We look at getting a birthing plan. We look at creating a music list, doing everything we can because we know it's going to be tricky. But we won't give ourselves that same gift when we're going through something that is as potentially traumatic on the body as giving birth or having a C-section. It's traumatic. And he said, wow, I never thought of it that way. And he chose to do it. He rang a couple of his mates and he said, can you just sit with me? And they just had some, some soft drinks, and they had some things that made it like a party. And every time he sort of went into the heaviness, they would cheer him up. And he wrote the affidavit and he said, you know what? It was the easiest affidavit he'd ever written. And not only the easiest, he said it was the most distinct, and it spoke things that he hadn't remembered because he had that support. So you can pull energies in. And sometimes if you're willing to really live outside the box, ask for such a different energy to that which you are in. I think it was Einstein that talked about, you can't change something from the same energy. You have to choose the solution or find the answer from a different energy to that where the problem was created. And so that's what happened. He was in the energy of the problem of the domestic violence and what he was suffering. And with the influx of support and laughter and friendship from his friends, that totally shifted the energy. It didn't take the seriousness off what he was doing. It didn't reduce the horrificness of what he was going through. However, it brought in, so if you're using an example of a really hot room and his mates were the air conditioning. And so when it got hot, when he started to panic, when he started to think, I can't do this, that heavy energy, his friends brought in laughter, some cool air. And all of a sudden, things expanded again. So it is working the muscle, but the first step is where I want to get to you today. Start to become aware of energies and that you can change your energy. Even though you're on a default setting by your indoctrination, by your addictive thinking, by your upbringing, by society, whatever it is, just because you are who you are energetically doesn't mean you're stuck with that. Your go-to might be depressing thoughts. Your go-to might be sleeping on the couch. Your go-to might be anger. Your go-to might be alcoholism. Whatever your go-to is, it can change if you're willing to change the energy. So this week, that's what I desire you to look at. Pay attention to when you're pushing yourself or others and just stop and choose a different energy. And if you have actually pushed something on someone else, apologize. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's really where I wanted to get to, for you to realize there's energies going on. There's energies at play. And if you change the energy, you can change your life. If you notice that you're speaking to someone, you're out on a date and you're starting to realize that you're pushing them, stop. And, have the vulnerability too. Oh, wow, I just realized that I really wanted to go to that place and I was pushing you there. I'm so sorry. What would you like to do? Open up, be vulnerable enough to acknowledge, and not acknowledge from a wrongness. We do what we do and then we know better and we do better. Yes, there's a small sector of the public that are sociopaths and psychopaths that don't even know. They won't even see that they're doing anything that's causing harm. And if they do, they don't care. A lot of people go, why do these people do what they do? They do it because they do it. So you need to be aware of people pushing you. And if you want to know what to do about that, hop on over to my Beyond Domestic Violence podcast, where I talk to you about that, as well as my energetic self-defense podcast on how to deal with energies and make changes, as well as to bring more energies into your life that are generative and creative. Okay, well, have fun this week. And what else is truly possible with paying attention to when you're choosing something? Does it have a push energy? Does it have an energy where you feel like you're being forced into it? And make a different choice. Okay, take care, and I'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.